It's not a matter of if your security system gets breached, it's when and how badly. We're learning more at Central Technology Solutions of how to worry less with CTS. The topic of conversation recently is the pipeline, but you're telling me at Central that wouldn't have happened. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, obviously the pipeline has gotten a lot of attention, and as it should. I mean, it hurt all of us, not to mention that company itself. And it's important to realize that this isn't just about the pipeline, it's about security, right? So for us to be able to say, hey, I don't think that happened to one of our customers, would be because we put things in place they didn't have, which would be a cybersecurity plan, disaster recovery plan. We'd have a lot of information about what's going on in their network that they did not have. Those hackers were in their network for a while before they encrypted it. We would have known right away when something inside their network started to change. We use AI inside the network, not just like an antivirus. So we're able to see when something happens, and then our security operations center is able to disconnect that device, rebuild it, bring it back online. So there wouldn't be any downtime or losses of data. So that is even if it got to them, which I don't think it would.
And you had referenced it to kind of a fire alarm, but the fire is still going. So tell me about the services offered here that can help businesses.
Right, so I think that is important to point out that, you know, the fire alarm was this gas prices going up, them not being able to pump, them getting hacked. The real fire is the $4.5 billion a year cybercrime industry, where in other countries there are high-rise buildings full of people just hacking. And 80% of hacks come from email publishing. Somebody clicking on something they shouldn't. And those emails and those attacks have gotten more advanced. You know, Microsoft gets, you know, all the time they're impersonating Microsoft. And it's not them, you put in your username and password, then you've given that up. So you also have, you know, passwords. Like, you know, we do dark web monitoring, we see passwords. Many customers, we've showed up and handed them their passwords. But how do you prevent that? You know, not using the same password for everything. Two-factor authentication, single sign-on. There's ways to manage that so you're not using the same password everywhere. And passwords are, you know, really not as important as they used to be when you add in the other technology used to secure a connection. And, you know, today security doesn't follow the building. It's not about the big firewall or router you have that you spend all this money on. It's not that. It has to follow the user. And the work from home environment has really opened up the ability for cybercrime to increase. And we're seeing it more and more. You know, we're partnering more and more with insurance companies as well. Make sure people have proper cyber insurance and audit the way that they handle their data and their security so that they're, you know, less of a risk. I mean, the pipeline got hit hard and they paid apparently $5 million and it really didn't help them. You know, could your business here in Lynchburg, could it survive that? You know, could you being down a few weeks, would that change something? So I encourage people to look at what their plan is. Just because you have an IT person doesn't mean that you're covered. Just like you wouldn't go to your ear, nose, and throat doctor to have heart surgery. You know, there's different aspects of IT, and it's hard to do that in-house versus a company like CTS where we can handle all of those different pieces, put together a plan. You know, what is your disaster recovery plan if something happens? Is if your answer is call my IT guy, that's not the right answer. So building those things out, building a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year plan through our virtual CIO program so that you know what your budget is. You know, if you get charged because your IT company comes out and does something for you, you're not with the right IT company. It's about a partnership and protecting you and your business so that you can operate.
And talk to me about these people behind the screens helping you remotely. The training here is elite.
It really is, and we know that that's part of our mission, you know, is to provide highly trained people. A lot of times we see people will buy a tool stack. They'll buy some ingredient, we'll call it, for a cake. And they're like, well, this ingredient does this, therefore we're safe. And actually they're not. That ingredient requires maintenance, updates, training. Your staff, the people who are clicking on emails for you, they're your biggest, you know, problem, the biggest risk. And most of the time they're not being trained. And if there is training offered, they're not doing it. And then the business doesn't know. Where we're able to come in and build custom training for each one of the employees and then monitor who's doing it, who's not, report back who's actually clicking on things they shouldn't, which we call happy clicking, which can be a problem. So I think it's important. You got to educate your staff, and to do that here at CTS, every one of our employees is on some type of education path to better themselves and in the industry. And we send people, well, we used to send people around a lot until COVID. Now it's mostly remote. We've helped a lot of companies figure out the right way to do remote and be secure and host and cloud services. These are important things, and if these aren't being talked about in your business, you probably should call somebody like CTS.
It's time to worry less with CTS. Central Technology Solutions is located at 20334 Timberlake Road in Lynchburg. You can call them at 434-237-4300 or visit their website, www.teamcts.com.